Fueled by the alcohol, he got angry, lunging at me and smashing the beer bottle on the ground. Luckily, the noise caught the attention of a passing car. The driver stopped and offered to take me home. I couldn't stop shaking from fear the whole ride back. As soon as I got home, a sharp pain shot through my abdomen. I downed a glass of hot water, trying to calm myself, just as James stormed in, slamming the door. How could you come back without telling me? I circled that alley a dozen times, scared out of my mind that something had happened to you. I almost called the cops. Do you think this is some kind of game? I froze, gripping the glass tightly, my expression going cold. If James had been looking for me, he would have seen that the barbecue stall was closed. Clutching my stomach, I shot back with a mocking smile. Worried about me? You left me in a place like that. Were you scared something might happen to me, or scared nothing would? And you expect me to tell you? I tried, but I guess I'm still blocked, so that was impossible, wasn't it? God knew how often I tried calling him while stranded, rehearsing my last words in case something went wrong. His lips pressed into a thin line, realizing his mistake. Frustrated, he threw the cake he had brought down on the table. Kindness wasted. James stormed off to the bathroom, and I could faintly hear him laughing as if he were finding the whole situation ridiculous. The pain in my abdomen became unbearable, and I collapsed onto the sofa, my face turning pale. I glanced over at the cake he'd thrown. A piece was already missing. With shaking hands, I opened Lindsay's latest post on social media. In the picture, two shadows were reflected in the floor-to-ceiling windows of a Riverview mansion. A strawberry cake with a single candle sat in the corner. Her caption read, "For every birthday from now on, we'll be by each other's side. The ultimate expression of love is in the ritual." I fought back tears, trying to stay calm for the sake of pregnancy. I couldn't cry, not now. Gripping the sofa for support, I threw the cake into the trash. James came out of the bathroom just in time to see what I had done, his face darkening with anger. "What's your problem now? You're the one always going on about rituals. I drove across half the city to get you that cake, and you just toss it away. I've explained this 100 times, and you're still not satisfied. All I did was give an employee a house as a reward. Are you ever going to let this go? Have I ever brought up how you insulted her? Since I got home, you've treated me like crap. First, you ditched dinner, and now the cake. What do you think I am? Made of patience." I closed my eyes, too frustrated to even look at him anymore. "I'm not throwing a tantrum. You're right, it's your money, and you can spend it however you want. I'm not as free as Lindsay is. I've got my work." Before I could finish, he cut me off, shouting, "Enough. You say this every time. Ever since Lindsay joined the company, you've been acting crazy every day. No wonder the baby didn't make it. With a mother and a family like this, it's a blessing he wasn't born." Before I could register his words, my hand flew up and slapped him across the face. I screamed at my husband, "Don't you dare talk to me about the child. Having a father like you would be his misfortune." Without waiting for a response, I spun around and ran into the bedroom, slamming the door behind me. A second later, I heard James outside, yelling in frustration. Eventually, the shouting faded, and tears streamed uncontrollably down my face. When Lindsay joined the company, things had changed between us. My sense of security vanished, replaced by suspicion and anxiety. I found myself constantly wondering if he still loved me. At one point, I even considered having a child just to keep him tied to me. But when I first showed him the positive pregnancy test, I'll never forget the furious, twisted look on his face. He had been texting Lindsay then, and in a split second, he smashed his phone against a table, shattering the screen. "The company's expanding and money is tight. I can't afford a kid right now. Just get rid of it." I was shocked, angry, and heartbroken, but I stood my ground and refused. Not long after, James invited me to a business event. We hadn't gone anywhere together in 2 years, so I assumed it was work-related and agreed, with little thought. But when I found myself surrounded by a group of greasy, middle-aged men raising their glasses toward me, I realized what was happening. I glanced at him, hoping for help, but he was too busy bragging about how much I could drink. Forced to down glass after glass, my tears mixed with the liquor. An hour later, I collapsed to the ground, my skirt soaked in blood. Only then did James finally take me to the hospital, but it was too late. The baby was gone. That's why I hadn't told him about this pregnancy. If he hadn't used the excuse of being too broke to raise a child back then, maybe I wouldn't have been so triggered by his actions of giving away houses and company shares like they were nothing. Looking back, he probably had plans for that money all along. Our child's existence disrupted his pursuit of his true love, and that's why he was so angry. Seeing Lindsay's latest post on social media confirmed what I already knew. This marriage was over. When I woke up the following day, James was already gone. I called a lawyer and had divorce papers drawn up. While preparing to send them to his office, I saw a celebratory video on their corporate account. Lindsay was promoted to company shareholder, holding the same title as James. She was no longer just a secretary. She now held an executive position. In the video, they hold champagne glasses, toasting each other as employees cheer them on. James's wedding ring was replaced by a more delicate one that matches Lindsay's, a new model from this year's collection. I couldn't help but laugh bitterly. I remember when we got married, his company was just starting out. I only asked for the cheapest ring at the store to ease his financial burden. He was moved to tears and promised to buy me the most expensive ring when he made more money. 8 years later, the ring he promised me ended on another woman's finger. Just as I finished sending the divorce papers, James called. I'll pick you up tonight. The company is having a team building event. Lindsay said she wants to clear up any misunderstandings between you two. Before I could respond, he hung up. I didn't expect him to unblock me right before the divorce, and I wasn't sure whether to feel amused or heartbroken. A mocking smile crept onto my lips. A misunderstanding? Is she here to explain or to show off? I thought. But at that point, I didn't care anymore. After finalizing the divorce agreement, I went to the hospital for a checkup. The doctor prescribed more medication and warned me that my condition was worse than before. He stressed that I needed to keep my emotions in check, as any stress could affect the baby. Taking his advice seriously, I picked up my medication and went home. I started looking for a new place to live, knowing I couldn't stay in this toxic environment. It wasn't safe for me or for the baby. After searching all day, I found a place and paid the deposit. I gave myself the prescribed injection, and just as I started packing, I got a notification that James's car had pulled up downstairs. I went down in my pajamas thinking we could talk seriously. But the moment he saw me, his face twisted in disgust. You're going out like that? Can you stop embarrassing me? People will think I can't even afford to buy you makeup. Sitting in the passenger seat with her perfect makeup, Lindsay giggled and opened the door. Standing next to her, I felt even more worn out and drained. Before I could respond, she smiled brightly and nudged me into the back seat. Oh, Shannon, no need to get all dressed up. You're already beautiful enough. Besides, do you think James would even let you leave the house if you got all dolled up? The door shut behind me, and she casually slid back into the front seat. They chatted nonstop during the drive while I sat in the back, feeling like a complete outsider. In our 8 years of marriage, I had never seen James this eager to share anything with me. At that moment, I clearly felt the difference between being loved and not being loved. When the car finally stopped, I was shocked to see that the team building event was being held at the same barbecue stall where I had almost been assaulted the other night.